Hey guys, I just want to go over a couple of things that you are going to need for partitioning shapes. So before we look at this document that you're going to be working on, and don't forget you're also working in your Go Math book to practice those things, I am going to go over a couple of things that you probably are going to remember about partitioning shapes. But if not, this is going to be a really good review for you guys, okay? So first, what you're really going to be working on when you're partitioning shapes is you're going to be breaking down a shape into smaller pieces, okay? And you're going to be working with rectangles and circles mostly, okay? So right here I have a rectangle, and this is a shape that has not been broken apart. It's not into smaller pieces. So we're going to call that the whole, okay? It is one whole. You might also see it written as 1/1 as we start to introduce fractions, okay? Now, you guys are going to be working on partitioning wholes into halves, thirds, and fourths, okay? And when you're partitioning, you want to be cutting those pieces into equal sizes, okay? And you're just going to do your best on that. And if your pieces don't look equal, you're just going to erase and fix that, okay? So as I'm looking at my rectangle, I want to partition this shape into halves. So that's going to be 2 equal pieces. So I'm just going to cut that right down in the middle. And so now each one of these pieces is called a half. So just to go over that one more time, I took my whole and I broke it into halves. Okay, I've partitioned this shape. Now you can also partition the whole into halves by cutting it sideways like this. So I could equally cut it like this. And then the top part would be a half and the bottom part would be a half. Okay? Now I want to partition this whole into thirds. That's going to be 3 equal parts. Okay? So 1, 2, 3. Now when I look at this, my parts are not very equal, so I might want to erase that and try to make them more equal, but they do not have to be perfect. Okay, so let me do about right here, maybe right here. Okay, each one of those is going to be a third, so it's going to be 1 out of 3. Sometimes you might see those things shaded, those equal parts shaded. That would equal 1/3. Okay, so I've taken my whole and I've partitioned it into thirds like this. Okay, now you can also partition this rectangle into thirds by making the lines sideways like this, making them into rows. So each one of these rows would be a third. Okay. And then last thing is we're going to partition our rectangle into fourths. That's going to be 4 equal parts. So it could look something like this, and each part would be 1/4. You're taking your whole and you're turning it into fourths. So you could partition it that way. Or again, you can partition it into rows. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And each one of those would be a fourth, okay? You also will be partitioning circles. And circles look a little bit different, okay? So when I have a circle and I want to partition it into halves, I can either do sideways like this, or I could go up and down like this, okay? If I want to partition a circle into thirds, it's actually going to be like an upside down Y. So I would just draw a line up at the top. Don't go all the way down, and then split it into a Y. It almost looks like a peace sign. And then if I want to partition my circle into fourths, I could just do a cross like this, equal parts. If I partition my circle like this, are all of those parts equal? No. All of those parts need to be equal. So circles are really different. If I partition it into thirds, are all of these parts equal? No. They're only equal when I do that upside down Y. Okay? Now I'm going to work through a couple of the problems on your worksheet with you, and then tomorrow I will do the rest, because remember, you just need to do a couple each day. So let's start with the first one. A new rectangular playground is being built at school. 1/3 of it will have a climbing equipment. 1/3 will be paved for playing basketball, and 1/3 will be a grassy area. Show 2 ways the playground area might be split. Okay, so we need to show 2 different ways to equally split a rectangle into thirds. Okay. Now, there's not a lot of space on your worksheet, and so that's when I would ask you to open up your math notebook and write down that you are working on partitioning shapes. And you could just number these like 1, 2, 3, the problems, and then just show your work. So I'm going to pull up my whiteboard again, and I would label it like this. Partitioning shapes. And we're on question 1. So basically we need to show 2 different ways to partition this shape into thirds, okay? So we could partition it into rows like this, or we could partition it into columns like this. And if I go back, one area is going to be climbing, so I could label this one climbing, or this one climbing. The other area is going to be basketball, and then the last one's going to be grassy. So I could put basketball right here, and then grassy area right here. So you created 2 different ways to show that this is partitioned into thirds, 3 equal parts. Okay? Let's go to number 2. Number 2 says, the Price family ordered 3 small pizzas. So let's go ahead and draw our pizzas on number 2. 3 small pizzas. So it looks like we're going to be partitioning circles. Aiden ate half of a pizza. So let's draw that. And we're going to label that Aiden. So he ate half of a pizza. Charlie ate a quarter of a pizza. Now, when I think about quarters, I think about money. So how many quarters equal $1? 4 quarters equal $1. So I'm going to be splitting this pizza into fourths. He only ate a quarter, so he only ate 1/4 of a pizza. So I'm going to shade this in. So this is what Aiden ate. And then I think this girl's name was Caroline. Yep. No, Charlie. Charlie. And then our last friend, Caroline, ate 1/3 of a pizza. So we'll split this into thirds. Remember, we need to do that upside down Y. And she ate 1/3. So Charlie ate 1/4. Caroline ate 1/3. So that's the first part of the question. The second part says, prove it. Who ate more pizza, and prove it. So looking at these pieces of pizza, each pizza is the same size. The circle did not change, but we're looking at who ate the most pizza, and here we've shaded those parts in. Aiden ate half, Charlie ate 1/4, and Caroline ate 1/3. So looking at these pieces of pizza, you are going to tell me who ate the most and prove it. And guys, this is how you're proving it, by your drawing. And so if you think Caroline ate the most, you're going to say, I think Caroline ate the most because when I shaded it in, it looked like the most. Or you might say, Charlie ate the most because of his shaded part. Okay. So you're just explaining to me why you think whoever ate the most pizza did based on your drawings. Okay. So I'm not going to go over the answer on that one. We'll go over that later. And then let's stop at question 3. So let me look at question 3. Which of these cakes is split into fourths? Explain. So I'm looking at all of these different rectangles, these cakes. And I'm thinking, which of these cakes is split into fourths? And I might even circle that, okay? Now, looking at these, I see a couple different ones that are split into fourths, okay? Now, the part that I'm looking for is you to explain why it is split into fourths. Now, looking at all of these rectangles, I only see one that's split into thirds. That's going to be this one right here. This one right here is split into thirds. I have 1, 2, 3 equal parts. This one has 4 equal parts. This one has 4 equal parts. This one has 4 equal parts. And then I'm looking at these two right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. These are split into fourths, but are they equal sizes? And those are not equal sizes, okay? So which of these cakes is split into fourths? You might circle this one, and this one. And then you're going to explain over here or in your notebook why they are split into fourths. I want to know how many pieces are there in a fourth, okay? So that one is pretty easy. Now, tomorrow we're going to work through the rest of these problems. So make sure you get back on Google Classroom and you check your work. I do not expect you to finish this whole page in one day, especially if you don't even have your work with you, okay? Now, tomorrow, after I go over these, I definitely want you to show your work, especially if we're going through it, okay? As I am teaching you through Google Classroom, I want you to have this video up and I want you to be writing things down and listening to what I'm saying. And if you need to go back and rewind the video, maybe I'm moving too fast for you, you can always pause the video and then start it back when you're ready after you get done jotting down your work, okay? So this is over partitioning shapes.